Like to test and see if those on Zoom can hear.
Yes.
So please chat if you can hear.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you able to hear now? On Zoom?
I'm getting a yes now.
Okay, it sounds like we're okay, Chair. Sorry about the interruption.
Thank you. Thank you, Zoomers, for your patience. I have not received any feedback on the items to be removed. I will now take a motion and second to adopt the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we adopt item number 1 on the agenda.
I will second that.
I think it's just the consent agenda. As a whole, not itemed out.
Correct. We are just making a motion on the consent agenda. So do you take that friendly amendment?
I'm sorry?
We need a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I hereby make a motion that we adopt the consent calendar.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Item number 2 is the, let's see, item number 1. Sorry,
I think we get to jump
just a
to,
little mixed up here. So item number 1 is the planning commission minutes. That was part of the consent agenda, right? Okay. So item number 2, the general plan consistency determination.
I think we get to jump to page 3.
Items 1 to 1.
The public hearing.
Consent agenda.
All right, I got it. Script.
Okay, sorry for the confusion, but items 1, 2, and 3 are all part of the consent agenda. So you're now ready for the public hearing item number 4.
Thank you.
I'd like to withdraw my consent agenda thing and go back to some discussion. I thought we were only okaying the former minutes. So I had some questions about the street abandonment stuff.
You have to take a motion to vote on reconsidering the consent agenda.
I'll take a motion to reconsider the consent agenda.
I second that.
No, I need the motion, not the second.
I make a motion that we reconsider the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. So we're back to the beginning, and I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda or to move something out of the consent agenda.
So, Madam Chair, if there's just a question about something, we can ask questions without actually pulling the consent agenda items and considering them separately. It's up to you on how you want to do it.
Thank you. Commissioner Stewart, could you describe the nature of your question?
Yes. Item number 3, first of all, well, let's go back to item number 2. Doesn't, and I'm sorry, because I did read all the packet, but right at the second, I don't have that in front of me. So I don't recall if item number 2, is that the acquisition of the 1 or 2 vacant lots somewhere?
Yes, thank you. That is the acquisition of 1 lot.
1 lot, okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so that's fine, no problem on that one. The next one is about the street partial abandoned street thing over at the by the old water park area there. So unfortunately, the paperwork that was included in the packet, it was extremely unclear to me what streets or partial streets were being abandoned. First of all, I consulted my City of Clearlake road map. It was, those streets were, that in that general area were not well represented on the map. I did actually drive over there and attempt to motor around and see what was what and what was being abandoned and so on. And basically it was incomprehensible. So I would really like an explanation of exactly what's what over there. It's my understanding at this point that the city either is going to or has purchased those storage units there right off of 18th, and that the street is going to be improved going into the new hotel development. And I assume these street abandonments have something to do with that, but it was completely unclear to me from the paperwork if that was the case or what was going on.
Shall I pull this? Is that a complicated question that we can address at this point, or should we pull it from the consent agenda?
I don't think it's that complicated. It has nothing to do with the storage sheds. If you look at the exhibit survey map, it shows that half of Spruce Avenue and half of, or in some areas a half, and then all of Armio Avenue south of Victory Street will be abandoned. So this is north of 18th Avenue. So it's on the western edge of the airport property. This is related to the property that the city sold for the hotel development. I can share my screen here quickly. We can see if we can provide some clarity. Storage units that you're talking about are over right here. This is the property that was sold for the hotel. And then this is Spruce. This is Armio. This is Victor. So a portion of this area and this area into the runway.
Thank you, Alan. That answers my questions.
So I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda incomplete.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. We're now moving to the public hearing portion of our commission meeting. Number 4, conditional use permit CUP 2022-01, categorical exemption CE 2022-05, APN 010-043-53000. Staff?
Everybody hear me okay? So once we get the site plan, well, there we go. So as you mentioned, we're here today to hear the conditional use permit that's located at 15895 Dam Road Extension. So the Arco gas station you can see on the site plan, you'll see Carl's Jr. in the upper left-hand corner. And Starbucks, and then the lot north of the Starbucks is that undeveloped lot, and then the Arco gas station is just located above the corner there. So this is part of like a 3-phase project. So the initial part of it was Starbucks, which also included the future development to the north. So essentially, Arco gas stations like can be considered the 3rd phase of this development in that area. So basically, the applicant's requesting a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a gas station, convenience store with an office and a drive-through car wash. You can refer to the staff report for the details of the square footage, if you like. So overall, it's going to operate, 24/7 as, a normal gas station would. The applicant's anticipating construction to start in September, and it's going to take approximately 6 months to complete. So when the project was taken in, it was circulated to various agencies, federal, state, and local for agency comments. During the commenting period, we did receive comments from the city engineer, the Lake County Environmental Health, the Lake County Special Districts, Caltrans, and the Sierra Club, which was received today, which all of you should have received it this morning. I also placed a hard copy of their comments on your desk for you today. So one of the biggest concerns that have been coming up is traffic concerns. So based on the traffic concerns, staff coordinated with the city engineer, including reviewing the previous traffic study that was done by W-Trans in April of 2020 for the Starbucks development. And this study area included the 3 phases of the project. So it included the Starbucks lot, the lot just north to the Starbucks that's currently vacant, but for future development, and the Arco gas station lot, which considered a little larger footprint than the building that's currently being proposed. The study area also included SR 53 and Dam Road, old highway 53 and Dam Road, and Dam Road extension. So to summarize the previous study to help address the traffic concerns, the study analysis indicated those intersections operate acceptably both during morning and evening peak hours. Additionally, even with the anticipated future development of traffic volumes, installation of the roundabout at Dam Road and Dam Road extensions, it's staff determination that the existing intersections will adequately support the proposed operation. So your options are for motions is to move to adopt the resolution PC 2022-08, which would be approving the project. You can move to deny the resolution PC 2022-08 and direct staff or appropriate findings, or you can move to continue the item and provide alternate direction to staff. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that I'm able to.
Thank you. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any questions of staff on this item. Vice Chair Robert Coker,
No, I do not.
Commissioner McCare.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. The first one is it possible to get a new traffic study that's analyzes the impact of Starbucks being there? Just speaking from personal experience, it's still pretty chaotic. Like I know that was actually the first vote that I took on planning commission, and we were all very concerned about the traffic impact there. I just kind of think that it's still fairly chaotic with the Starbucks and the drive-through is tough to navigate. So is there a possibility for that?
Well, I mean, you could request, it would no longer qualify for a categorical exemption, so we'd have to do an initial study. I guess request an update to the traffic study. But I mean, you really can't reanalyze the Starbucks project that was already approved. You just have to be doing a traffic study on this project itself. And, we didn't circulate the study that was done previously to the commission. But, this is all owned by the same property owner and was anticipated for development at that time. They weren't 100% sure what it was going to be. And so that's what they did also analyze, I forget what it was, 4,600 square foot, 4,600 square foot retail center. So those calculations were part of that initial study. I think one thing, there was a lot of discussion about this as part of the Starbucks, and you read Caltrans' comments. They don't really, this is similar comments to anything that gets close to the state highway. I did go back and review. The last few years, we've been working with Caltrans and a traffic engineering firm, TJKM, on a corridor study, a traffic study for the entire Highway 53 corridor, which is now done. And, that study indicates that those intersections are, operating essentially as expected. Now, over the next 10-year horizon, they did analysis with the airport project being built out and all that there's, going to be some impacts. But the key to that whole area, whether it's Starbucks or the gas station, or even just as everything sits right now with Walmart, is the regional project of the roundabout there, which has been kind of in works for a number of years. And you'll recall that was a mitigation measure. The Starbucks project was to contribute funding towards that roundabout project. And even this project itself, that was before we had our traffic impact development fee study in place. That's one of the projects that's identified in there. So if this project was to move forward, it would be required to pay impact fees, which would go towards that project as well. So, I don't know. I think there's quite a few options if this is something that the commission wants to investigate further from staff's perspective. I'm not sure that we're going to identify much else through updating the traffic study. Then you need to upgrade that whole intersection right there, which we're in the process of doing the environmental review on right now. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of some of the information may be helpful.
Okay, so that does at least help explain a lot, and then also kind of brings up a few other questions. Is when they're doing the study for the roundabout, would that be an opportunity to address more traffic concerns? And then are there ways to mitigate traffic without doing a whole new study? Are there just for example, and I don't know if they're going to share the same entrance. It looks like maybe where you drive into Starbucks and turn left, you drive into the gas station and then turn right. So right now, the lines from the Starbucks go they block people in the drive-through. The drive-through blocks people in, and then people who are parked can't get out. I've only been there once, and this is what I saw, and it was so. Is there a way for Starbucks or somebody else put arrows on the ground or somehow address it without? I'm not being nitpicky about this. I'm just thinking about as this moves forward, it may create a bit of chaos if there aren't directions, or is there something that we can do without a study that could be helpful?
Well, I think that is one thing that our city engineer mentioned, that maybe adding some additional, signage and delineation for circulation within the site might be helpful. Certainly something that could be done. It is kind of a tight site overall. for the impacts of this project itself, the benefit is, there's actually a lot of queuing possible for people coming in here before you get out into any of the roadways. But, I haven't seen this myself at Starbucks, but I can see how there are certain periods of time where this area.
And then I had two other questions. Is it, in regards to the Sierra Club letter, is it possible as one of the conditions of approval, not necessarily to mandate any sort of electric charging station, but to have them look at the feasibility of having electronic charging station? Because, I mean, there's grants from the state, there's ways to do it. And I think it's a great idea. The person who submitted this letter is to integrate that, because there aren't any, I don't think, in the city of Clear Lake, and maybe only a couple in Lake County. So again, not forcing the person to put the charging stations in, but just to look at the feasibility of it. Similar type of question, not necessarily needing like a hydrology report, but like a water monitoring or like a water impact statement, just data for data's sake. So as we look at like larger picture drought management stuff, like to start looking at, because it said one of the comments was making sure that there's recycled water for the car wash. So just if there's a way to like keep up on that data, just for the sake of, a little bit greener. I don't know,
The
that's really
applicant may
questions.
be able to speak to the details of the recycling of the thing. Of course, this is a little different than some of the projects that are on the municipal system. Of course, it would all be municipal water, but if you would like, I think that it's probably their own, and they may be able to address the details of the car wash recycling. And then I don't know, I'm sure we need to address the stuff that Sierra Club brought up. I have some comments on that, just whenever you want.
Is the applicant on Zoom?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for letting us know you're here. We'll invite you to comment shortly. Or answer questions.
Just to address the comment related to the electric vehicle, those 3 parking spaces that you see at the lower bottom of our site plan at the entrance of the car wash, those 3 spaces are going to be dedicated to electric vehicle.
Thank you.
Exactly, those 3 right there.
Could you tell us your name, please, for the record?
Alex Cuevas. I
Thank you.
represent the architectural engineering firm.
Thank you. Commissioner McCarrick, do you have any other questions or comments?
No, thank you, appreciate that.
Commissioner Williams?
Thank you. Commissioner McCarrick actually addressed a few of my concerns as well. With only having that one ingress and egress behind Starbucks, that is already a very cramped intersection. When you're coming out of the drive-through at Starbucks, it's even hard to see what's coming from the left there. And that much added traffic in that area it's very concerning. Is there another ingress and egress behind it, or is that going to be the only one that we're seeing?
Well, technically, there's 2. There's one.
Well, there's the one by Carl's Jr. Yeah, but that technically, well, if you're coming from Walmart, it's an ingress. But is there going to be anything behind it that would relieve some of that congestion right there between Starbucks and the future projected?
No, there's nothing else proposed. This is the full extent of the property that's controlled by the applicant.
Anything else, Commissioner? Commissioner Stewart, do you have any questions or comments?
I do. I visited the site. I looked over the ingress and egress situation, and the amount of activity that I think this project is going to generate, it's going to create a very unpleasant situation for people to try and access this property and the other properties that are already there. At the very minimum, I believe the dam road extension needs to be, the lanes need to be realigned, so that when you're northbound on dam road extension, Starbucks would be on your left. You're going to turn into the project. There needs to be, there's a turn-in lane that's going the other way if you're southbound and hanging left to go to Walmart. There is no turn-in lane to this project whatsoever. And in fact, the double yellow line is actually aligned to the point now where to access this project northbound from Dam Road Extension, you have to turn over a double yellow line to get in there. The other situation is that, and it was noted in the Caltrans report, that the main ingress and egress to this project is visualized as being from Dam Road Extension. So basically, over there on Dam Road itself, where you can turn into Carl's Jr., yeah, you could go straight, but really you can't turn into there if you're uphill or eastbound towards Walmart. You can't legally make a left turn across there to access this project. So basically, a big majority of the traffic that might be attempting to get in there coming from town, whether on New 53 or Old 53, realistically, they're going to have to go to Dam Road Extension, hang a left, go down to the end of Starbucks and take a left into this thing. And the way it is right now, I mean, this thing from Caltrans said they envisioned at least 200 vehicle trips per hour at peak times, just for the gas station. That didn't include the store, and it didn't include the restaurant. So now, you know, you're putting at the minimum at peak times, perhaps a couple more 100 cars trying to go through there. I think you're going to have a real problem out on Dam Road Extension there trying to get in and out. Although people exiting could go down in front of Carl's Jr. and then hang a right to go westbound towards 53. Quite honestly, some other things that kind of with the site plan kind of give me pause is, well, first of all, I have to compliment the architects and engineers for the amount of stuff they crammed onto a relatively small parcel. And being as I've been in business for almost my entire life, I certainly understand you want to maximize your return and diversify your business. So I give them kudos for that because I want business to be here and succeed. But, you know, realistically, I look at this, I see one ADA parking space for the entire thing. I can tell you, I drove my wife around in a wheelchair for many, many years attempting to park in places like fast food restaurants like Carl's Jr. and other places like that that only have one or maybe two spaces. And for me, I'm not thinking one ADA space is enough, even if that may be technically all that's required. The other thing, I look at this plan, I'm wondering about turning radiuses in there for delivery trucks and larger vehicles, perhaps motorhomes. What about getting a fuel tanker in there? I mean, you know, it looks to me like, and I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong, but you know, the problem of it is when I'm looking at a picture that's like 2 inches by 1.5 inches, and there's no large scale paper drawings anywhere that I can take a ruler and look at and get a real conception of the distances here. At this point, you know, I think, at least for me, there's so many questions about this that, and then on top of that, we have the things that the request for supplemental data, which I did not see any response to, describe the amount of traffic the project will generate. And the response here says we will need an estimated trips per day. The answer given by the applicant was quote unquote minimal. Well, we answered that that's not sufficient, but I don't see a real answer anywhere. And we noted that signage and striping may be required by the city. Yeah, I think that's a given. But at this point, I think there's just a whole lot of questions here that are not really addressed in a meaningful way. And, if this is merely being looked at as let's throw something out there and see what sticks, I get that as well. But some of this stuff on here just, to me, raises too many questions to just approve this tonight the way it is.
Mr. Cuevas, would you like to respond to any of Commissioner Stewart's concerns?
Yeah, yes, I do. I cannot comment on the actual observation comments that were made about the traffic issues the Starbucks is creating. I can only address our project. As far as the delivery of the truck and the delivery of the gasoline, before we ever present the project to any city, we have to run this by distribution, in this case, ARCO, Chevron, Texas, whoever it is, and they have to approve the layout because, like you said, if they cannot deliver gas, there is no way, there is no business. So we did run the template with the U-turn truck program, and it works. It comes in and it meets all the requirements by the distributions of gasoline by ARCO. So that is not an issue. That I can address that. I don't see any other question related to our project specifically. All the distance per code we meet. There is nothing that will create a tremendous amount of traffic. Keep in mind that a gas station is not a thing that you wake up in the morning, you say, I'm going to go and visit today. It's not a destination. People come and get gas and they go. The more pumps you have, the better it is because the traffic flow is better. Again, I can only comment on our parcel, our design, and mathematically, it works.
Thank you, Mr. Cuevas. I have a question about the retail store that's separate from the convenience store. What are your plans for that space?
My understanding, my client doesn't have anybody there. Selected, but because of the square footage, what we're looking at, what he's looking at, is something like a Subway, that type of a business.
So that would be the restaurant part.
That would be the restaurant.
Thank you. I have concerns about the Audubon's comments also. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, Alan. Mr.
Okay.
City Manager.
Yeah, I want to address a couple of points of Commissioner Stewart, like the ADA parking thing. I think that's more appropriate if for some reason that we need to change the regulations that we have in the zoning ordinance. But one key thing for developers and actually encouraging investment is trying to maintain some predictability about what they're going to get into. And so, I understand the concern. On one hand, it's not really fair to say this is what our requirement is and then come in and say, actually, I think you should have a couple more. I just wanted to make that point. And, we're not expecting any of the commissioners to, go through the engineering stuff here. Unfortunately, our city engineer had an appointment he wasn't able to make, and so he's not able to be here tonight. And I know he would have been able to answer a lot more specific questions than we can on some of this stuff. So, but to the letter from the Sierra Club, I understand what they're saying, and I have a great amount of respect for Deb, Sally, and the folks involved here. I think there's a couple of things, if if this was a proposal for another gas station on Lakeshore Drive, I think there's a lot of arguments on why that makes no sense. All of our gas stations in the city are on Lakeshore Drive, within roughly a mile of each other. But there's also nothing on Highway 53, and I think that there is a need for that service there. In fact, we recently, we work with retail consultants on attracting brands to our area, but we got another report from our sales tax consultant just last week that it is a leakage analysis of the money that people in our city spend somewhere, and the number one leakage category is service station. And so, I think there's a need for it. Obviously, the state of California is going in a different direction with electric vehicles. We still have a long ways until we get there, and I think, comparing Napa or San Francisco with the demographic that we have here, it's going to take a whole lot longer for our community to be able to afford transitioning, unless there's some enormous subsidy from the federal or state government to do so. So, I don't know, that's my feeling on a couple of points related to this, that I think there is a current and a short-term need for this in our community. And we would certainly encourage folks to have a plan to transition to more electric charging as appropriate in the future. That's just my personal.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. You mentioned the study about leakage and you said specifically service station. Is it the gas part or the convenience part, or do they separate?
I don't know if I can 100% answer that. I believe that the convenience store part of it is in a separate category. I think it's really just the fuel. But I'd have to verify that 100% for you.
We know if this applicant plans to sell propane and refill propane tanks.
There wasn't anything mentioned when he submitted the application directly, but since the applicant is on via Zoom, direct that question to him for clarification.
Mr. Cuevas, does your client plan on offering propane services, filling tanks?
It's not, it has not brought up to my attention by my client. But if this is the desire of the city, we can easily accommodate a propane tank.
Would that require a separate permit?
I don't think so. It goes together with the permit application for the construction documents, structural, engineering, mechanical, all that.
Thank you, sir. I have another question for the city manager. Do we have any more gas stations in the pipeline that want to open up here in the city limits?
We get fairly frequent inquiries about a few sites on Highway 53. There's probably one or two other locations that folks are looking at. I mean, I don't know for sure, how many are we going to come together? I mean, since I've been city manager, I've talked to no less than a half a dozen of folks about it. But I can certainly see, there being continued interest just because there's nothing else on Old Highway 50 or on Highway 53 on the busiest road in Lake County and the largest city in Lake County.
Thank you. So we've invited every commissioner and staff to make comments. I would like to now open the public hearing on this matter. Are there any public comments on this agenda item? Anybody in chambers would like to speak? Welcome. Please come to the podium and state your name.
Dave Hughes, Clearlake resident.
Could you hold on a minute, Mr. Hughes? We need the mic on.
Okay, Dave Hughes, Clearlake resident. You'll probably see more of me because I'm on the list now to get agenda for hearings for the city council and the planning commission, so I don't miss something like I did Thursday night. Anyway, my first reaction looking at it was, and I think Mr. Flora hit the nail on the head, it's a tight site. It appears to me they're trying to cram too much onto one parcel. I was even I went to table 23 looking at parking requirements. I came up with more than Mr. Roberts did. I mean, the way I read things, I'm thinking there should be 17, 18, 19 spaces. Now, if they're going to dedicate 3 to electric vehicles on the side, that reduces the number of spaces available for the general public. I do have a question if the number of employees must not include a fast food or a Subway. The staff reports mentioned so many employees, and I'm assuming that doesn't include anybody that would work in the restaurant. That's just the convenience store, gas station, part of it.
Seems like it should be everybody on property. What is that the answer?
I believe, it says 3 to 6 and up to 8. Alex, can you help address like how many on full build out when everything is fully done, and say you leased everything, how many employees you might anticipate on site at any given time?
Typically, we have like 3 employees for the convenience store, and then maybe 2 depending on what type of business is going to be on that empty space. But let me address the other comment about the parking ratio. But keep in mind, this is a convenience store gas station. If probably you have experienced this, if you go to a gas station and you pump gas and you decide to have a cup of coffee or candy or whatever, you're not going to get in your car and go and find a parking space in front of the convenience store. You leave the car at the pump and then you go and purchase and you leave. Most of the time, the parkings in front of the gas stations are all empty. People don't go to gas stations because, like I said before, it's a destination. If people that use the convenience store are the ones who are using the gas pumps, they don't go there just to the convenience store. It's historically, it's typical. That's the way it is here in any other place.
Thank you. Would you like to continue, Mr. Pierce?
And I won't necessarily argue that. It does upset me when there's an empty car sitting there at the gas pump and I have to wait. Well, again, I looked at table 23 and it talks about retail being 1 for 250 square feet, commercial retail over 2,000 square feet, 1 for 300 square feet, gas with convenience store, 1 per 200 square feet. Right there, that tells me we should have 14 spaces. The office is 3 per 1,000. It's a 450 square foot office. I don't know if it would have 1 or 2 people, but they got to park somewhere. So, give that 2. So now we're at 16. Then a restaurant with drive-through or drive-in is 1 per 60 square feet. But I think that said something about you can't require more than 1 per 350 square feet. So anyway, I got another 5 there. So I'm looking at, again, 2022 spaces based on the way I interpreted table 23. And again, if you dedicate 3 to the electric vehicles, then that reduces the number available to the public and to the employees. So
May I say something about the electric vehicle comment about not being parking? Those are parking. That is considered the same thing as a handicap parking stall. Not because the entire population is not handicapped, they shouldn't be considered handicap stalls because I can park there. It is a parking. Same thing for the electric vehicle. You park your car, you charge, you leave. You're a handicapped person, you park on the handicap stall. So I think kind of doesn't make any sense not considering those parking. And the code said that those are parking stalls, regardless of the use. Same thing for the handicap stall. Not because it's a handicap stall, it's not a parking.
I just heard the word dedicated, so your community's dedicated, I can't drive up and park there, or I shouldn't. Same with
No,
handicap.
no.
Because it's a parking spot, so that's.
It is a parking spot, but again, if it's dedicated to a specific, I mean, it could sit there empty all day. So my point is it reduces the number of spaces available. And again, I think my main point here is they're cramming a lot on a small piece of property. I also had a question looking at the site plan where they put the gas tanks. I'm assuming you can drive over the underground tanks. Otherwise, it's kind of tight coming out of the car wash. And I would concur with Commissioner Stewart's comment. I mean, getting vehicles, trucks. I looked at the site plan for the gas station that just opened at Highway or at Lakeshore and Old Highway 53. And when I saw the site plan that was approved by the Plan Commission, then I'm going, I don't believe this, the way they cram things in here. And again, they probably don't have a lot of problem with parking spaces. If they get really busy, you know, I just don't want to see another Lakeshore Drive happen. You know, when traffic backs up all the way to Foods or all the way to the Grotto, you know, at the traffic light, you know, it's a fiasco. And I'm glad to see a car wash, and I don't mind seeing another gas station. And I'll bet you a lot of the leakage goes to Twin Pines Casino, where today gas is $4.99 there, and our cheapest gas is $5.19. So, I also wanted to, you know, the Caltrans mentioning the 200 vehicles per hour during peak hours, and right now during the school year, that's peak hour around 8 o'clock in the morning. It's pretty busy right there. And then another 40 to 50 trips with the drive-through restaurant. So you're talking about 250 vehicle trips an hour, and again, getting in and out of there. I can't argue with Mr. Stewart's realigning the left turn lane. If you have a left turn lane coming south on Dam Road Extension to turn in to go to Walmart, that reduces the amount of left turn lane you can have going north on Dam Road Extension to pull into this project. Right now, there's no left turn lane. So again, it's just a matter of working it out, but I'd hate to see another just another traffic nightmare. Again, it just seems like they're cramming too much on one side. So I'd love to see the car wash, because we don't have one right now that you can sit in your car and drive through. So my car is dirty right now. I was in Santa Rosa and wanted to get it done, but I didn't have time. But again, I just feel like they're cramming too much on the parcel. I think an update to the traffic study might not hurt. Again, I don't know if that traffic study included these specific uses and what they will generate.
It contemplated a commercial.
Yeah, but these specific uses. So,
I don't think they knew that at the time.
well, again, that's why I'm saying, you know, what these will generate and the number of items on there, the convenience store, the car wash, the restaurant, the office, the gas pumps, you got 3 islands. But that's my concern.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
May I clarify? May I clarify the underground tanks at the exit of the car wash? Those
Yes,
are
go ahead.
those are underground tanks. Obviously anybody can drive over those, and also all the gasoline pumps. Those count as parking too, because as I said before, you don't get in your car to go inside of the store to buy a cup of coffee. You leave your car there as a parking stall.
Thank you. I'm going to see if there are any comments on Zoom on this matter.
There's one hand raised on the Zoom.
Please identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Please unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Deb Sally, resident of Clearlake and chair of the Lake Group of the Sierra Club. And I do want to thank you for addressing my issues. This is a fairly new kind of situation for us to be dealing with, at least for me, as part of this club. But I know that it has been a very ongoing thing, as I mentioned in my letter, with the areas that are south of us. And yes, it's true. We are a very different sort of community than those are. But I also think that what we wanted to do as a community is to move forward and to try to be an example of a good way to do things. So I'm glad to see that there are some charging stations already incorporated into the plan there. It sounds like there's a tremendous amount of issue around the traffic, which I had not even considered. And also bringing up the recycled water is something that, of course, is an important issue. All water issues are important to the city of Clearlake, to the citizens, and to the Sierra Club. And otherwise, I just, I thank you for giving me the chance to come and speak to you about this, and we'll be continuing to follow the process. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Sally. Hearing no further public comment, I will close the public comment. The public hearing is now closed. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any further comments for deliberation on this item. Commissioner McCarrick?
Yeah, I guess just a point of clarification for city staff is, it seems like the two things that are the issues here are possibly needing an extra entrance to the property and then the parking. So are there solutions that could be added into conditions of approval? Like, so on the map, well, the map's not there anymore, but in the corner where number 15 was, I don't know, it looks like it may upset like just down in the very corner, the number 15 to the bottommost right, my right. Yeah, like, is that a possibility of having another entrance? I mean, it looks like it might upset the flow of the car wash. But if it's an option that could solve something, that sounds like that might have a possibility. And then on the, looking at Google Maps, the property next to this is vacant. Is there like a possibility to do leasing for employee parking? Because I do understand the applicant's analysis, but I would also mention that each community is unique. Sometimes in Clear Lake, there's traffic measures that are not obeyed, like the new delineation by the new gas station. It doesn't delineate, people just drive over it. And so just, I think it's important to realize that each community is different. And so we're speaking on behalf of things that we're seeing. Shoot, thought there was another question. Oh, just a clarification. Doesn't Valero have a drive-through? What's it called? Car wash?
It's been down for years.
Yes, I mean, it's there, but I don't know that it's worked.
Okay. Is that a concern that we should have in terms of like working car washes? Are they hard to keep up? Or is that just a Valero situation? Got it. Sorry, Valero. So basically, like, sorry, geez Louise. How do we fix these two things? That's my question. Is there a way to fix this with supporting this proposal? Because I think it's a great location for a gas station. There needs to be a gas station because, as Mr. Hughes mentioned, if you try to drive down Lakeshore and go to the gas station, it's chaos. Sorry, to Lakeshore.
We need to answer this question about how we fix it.
How do we fix this, please?
Well, I mean, first of all, we need to know if the majority of the commission agrees that the two issues need to be fixed. I mean, on the parking issue, we would just have to confirm. I mean, again, back to the ADA comment, as long as it's meeting the standards that we've set out in the zoning ordinance, I would really caution against adding additional parking just because it seems like we need more in this case. As far as the access, I mean, I suppose there are a number, we could go kind of back to the drawing board and see. I mean, would be an additional entrance would require some negotiation with another property owner, right? And so I don't know where that would end up. If that's I think if the majority of the commission has concerns about that, we really need to have the technical engineering staff here to address that. I mean, all of us as lay people, when it comes to traffic engineering, it seems like an additional entrance may help, but then there's a distance between them that causes additional problems when you just add another one. Caltrans is never gonna let there be an additional entrance on I-53. And so, I mean, if the majority of the council has concerns, I think really the only thing we can do is try to continue this. But I would ask that we be as specific as possible about the commission's concerns so that we can do our best to address those at an upcoming meeting in order to also be a still favorable agency for investment in our community.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Commissioner Coker, do you have any comments or questions?
I do not.
Commissioner Stewart, do you have any comments or questions?
The applicants answered all my concerns about the actual site itself. I think that the answers given alleviated my concerns to a major degree about what's going on once you're on the site. I still have concerns about accessing the property from Dam Road Extension. And I feel that addressing the issue there needs to be some sort of a plan to address that before the project opens. And generally, I approve this and I want to see it go forward. I certainly don't want to torpedo the project by any means, but I really feel that there is a genuine access problem from Dam Road Extension that I think needs to be addressed. And it could be as simple as restriping the lanes there to make it more accessible. And of course, then there's the larger looming question of a roundabout in that intersection and how, at this point, I've seen no artists or engineers' conceptual drawings about how that's going to actually work and how that might affect the lanes there. But the way it is now, the really only good way to access that driveway is if you are southbound on Dam Road Extension and you can hang a right turn into there. Because now the majority of the traffic is going to be coming northbound into the project, and there's no turn lane. And you're turning over a double yellow line. And from what I'm hearing at certain times, there's already somewhat of a backup for the Starbucks drive-through. I haven't seen that. I don't really ever go up there at a peak time for that, so I wouldn't know about that. But I do know from just observing the situation earlier today that it's completely obvious that with an increase in traffic turning into this place, there's an issue on Dam Road Extension that definitely needs to be addressed. So I support the project and I would conditionally like to approve it with the stipulation that some sort of restriping or something will be done on Dam Road Extension to alleviate making a left turn into this project when you're northbound on Dam Road Extension. I hope that's not too big of a deal to torpedo this thing, but it's, in my opinion, it's very necessary.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart. Commissioner Williams?
My thoughts mirror Commissioner Stewart's. I think it's a great project. I think it's something that is needed. That is a business that's lacking in this corridor. We lose, a lot of business, a lot of revenue that this site could bring into our city. But I have concerns about the ingress and egress that I would like to see addressed as well. And City Manager Flora made a great point. As lay people, I'm looking at this and I see in front of the future project that, I'll put a driveway there and it could go straight through to the gas station, but that could potentially create other problems that we're not seeing. So it could be very beneficial to us to have, someone who has this knowledge come talk to us about it and explain to us why this does work, to alleviate those concerns.
Thank you. To summarize what I'm hearing from the commissioners, there's large concern about access from Dam Road extension, the traffic, and some wayfinding signage once you get onto the property. And I think it would be beneficial for the city engineer to come back in and describe to us how this can be successful. Is that something that a commissioner would support? Make a motion.
I will move that we continue this and have the city engineer come explain to us how the ingress and egress here is sufficient for this project.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Any further discussion? From staff, any questions or discussion? We'll take a vote. All in favor?
Roll call.
Aye.
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 So we'd like to invite the city engineer to come back and describe to us how we can see the success of the traffic and mitigation that we should ask the applicant to consider. Thank you, Mr. Cuevas. Commissioner Stewart has one quick thing.
Thank you.
I just want to commend the applicant for putting this forward and reiterate that generally speaking, we are in favor of this project. And I really think that the things that we would like to see addressed are pretty minimal. And please continue. Don't pull back on this just because there's a small bump in the road, because overall, it's a great project. And I think I'm hearing that we're all pretty much in favor of it. So thank you.
No, not a problem. Thank you so much. Any idea when would that be? As far as for the city engineer to come over and explain to you?
We'll connect with you tomorrow regarding when you're available to schedule that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any reports from staff?
I don't know. I didn't put together a list. We have still a ridiculous number of projects we're working on. A lot of housing stuff. It's actually been, and we'll see how much it comes together, but it's been surprising with the level of inflation, how we're still seeing a tremendous amount of interest in what I would consider highly likely to happen projects for market rate housing right now, which is something we've been, struggling with for a long time here in Clearlake. So feeling good, positive. I don't know, unless you have any questions about some of the things going on, we're just kind of continuing the same things we've talked about and pushing forward.
Thank you. Are there any future agenda items?
Yes, there will be a few future agenda items. We have one project. We just need to finalize the staff report packet and get that scheduled. I'm hoping I'll be on the next meeting. I reached out to, our record B to see if they can make the posting in time. If not, it'll be on the second one in May. We have another project that is currently out for the sequel review, and that is wrapping up. I believe there's about a week and a half left for agencies to provide comments on the project. And then the next step in that would be also scheduling it before the commission for a consideration. So we have a few projects that are coming very shortly.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who took the time to submit their comments and to those who are watching our meeting on Zoom and YouTube. There being no further business of the commission, we are now adjourned at 7:10 p.m. on April 26th, 2022.